was the introduction of the idea of literary citizenship. And Jane Friedman basically wrote that literary citizenship is activities that support and further reading, writing, and publishing and the growth of a writer's professional network. Again, this is the first time I actually heard of the idea of literary citizenship. So that's the definition of it. But for me, literary citizenship is anyone that is writing stories, writing poetry, creating ideas, editing, proofreading, anyone that can be helpful in a network. Again, whether it is the storyteller, the author, the poet, the editor, and things like that. As long as you're a part of the community in some way, shape, or form, again, whether it's you're creating, writing, editing, whatever, you are a part of a writing community. And you are thus a part of the literary citizenship. You have one because you're helping others attain further literary citizenship by expanding their network. To me, I think the best way to connect with the writing community, I think, is just putting yourself out there. When I look at myself, I think some of the best ways I could get into a writing community is just by going on social media and just finding writing groups. Um, I think that definitely is a way to connect with a writing community. I think in general, also just finding websites that maybe support writers, support ideas, and things like that. That's another way to connect with the writing community. I think the biggest thing is just being open about yourself, kind of, and your ideas. Like explaining to people, hey, this is my mindset. These are the genres that I like. Things like that. That's what I mean by being open to everyone, but also being open to expressing your ideas, but also being open to criticism. I think it's the best way to connect because if you're not open to criticism, then you will never be able to connect with the writing community. To leverage any connections to further a writing career is by utilizing them. So, for example, if an author has a story, they have a full novel, they can send it off to one of their friends. Maybe that's a good editor, or maybe if it's a author that's at the beginning of their story creation. Go ahead and maybe connect with the community and explain to them, hey, this is the idea I have. Here are the bullet points. Here are the characters. This is the plot. What do you guys think? I think the best way to use your connections to further a writing career is just to use them to get better as a writer. Yes, you can use some to maybe if you want to get into editing and things like that, maybe tap a friend who maybe works at a publishing business and see if maybe you could just get a few connections in there. But I think that goes back to another point as well, where if you know someone that needs maybe a book to be edited, why don't you? Hey, I can help you out with that. I think the best way to leverage your connections is being open. I'm open to do editing, proofreading. I'm open to telling you my idea and you telling me how the idea is and what needs to be worked on and things like that. I think the best way to leverage your connections is being open and honest and just being able to help anyone out, but also being able to share your ideas with anyone. That my reading preferences do influence me quite a bit because I prefer mystery and science fiction. I write mainly in science fiction. I love science fiction. I think it's one of the best genres out there because it allows a lot of creativity. So for me, I like to look at stories that maybe if not science fiction, maybe a little bit of fantasy as well. But I like to look at those stories and see what authors are doing, like how they're putting a modern twist on magic or on like dragons and wizards and things like that. When it comes to science fiction, I like to read about how authors are putting in like giant space battles, these epic dramas, romances, and things like that that can help add depth to their science fiction stories. I also like reading on how these guys are adding in technology. What are the new technologies that they're thinking of? All of that influences me in how I'm thinking about when it comes to my science fiction stories. In my previous answer, I definitely prefer science fiction. I've written pretty much in now every genre because of my 514 MFA class, but I definitely prefer science fiction, speculative fiction in general. Contemporary, I think, is fun to work in. Romance, I borrow pieces from. Young adult, I've never really dabbled in it, but it is, I think, a genre I will probably explore in the future. But for now, it's mainly speculative fiction for sure. Maybe contemporary, maybe a little bit young adult, but definitely definitely speculative fiction. It's so much fun, a lot of creativity. I think you just do whatever you want in there, and it's fantastic to me. About the different genres was has definitely been enlightening. In my 514 class, what I've learned is just to take beat pieces from each of the genres and work them into your story. So romance, you always want to focus on the middle because that's the big part of it. For contemporary, it's focusing on the real world and like real world problems. For young adults, also it's focusing on about the protagonist and how to make them relatable. And speculative fiction is all about the world building. So they taking each of those pieces like a giant puzzle piece in a way. It's like sorry, a giant puzzle piece, a giant puzzle in a way, because it's you have this great story you have, and then you just got to fill in the romance, the protagonist, the world building here, the world building there, the realistic settings or the realistic drama, more romance, maybe character arcs. All that fits together to fit into this giant puzzle that is a novel. So definitely learning about each of the genres has definitely influenced my writing, and I cannot wait to incorporate each of those into my future writings. I think that it's going to turn out a lot better than my previous stories. The writing habits I need to develop the most are definitely setting a time for myself to write and then actually staying committed to it, and then also writing every day. Those are definitely, I think, the two biggest ones. I want to develop those because I need to be more consistent in my writing. While I do try and think creatively every day, um, thinking it but then actually writing it down are always two very separate things. So I need to start developing these writing habits because I know I need to get back to writing every day, as this has been drilled into my head by like pretty much everyone I've ever met, teacher wise, and even reading a lot of different authors in during this past term. It's always about, hey, getting yourself in a habit, get yourself into a schedule, and I think that's what I need to do the most is develop a schedule for myself. I don't really have a plan for establishing these habits. I think the best plan I can think of is just basically kind of force myself to do it. Like on a Monday, just be like, okay, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock when I have free time, get to the office, sit down, put your fingers on the keyboard, start writing. And it's like I just gotta force myself to do it. I gotta force myself to, just get in there and start doing it. And I think the other thing I need to do as well is going back to writing every day. If let's say I break my schedule, for example, or if an event happens where I can't write that night, I think I do need to keep like a small notebook on me. That way I can still be writing, on my work or while I'm just taking care of something else. And I'm still writing, I'm still being creative, I'm still maybe even thinking of new ideas or polishing on my other ideas. But I think really forcing myself to get to that point of writing every day and just setting that schedule, sitting down and be like, look, dude, just write. I think that's the best way for me to establish these habits. As I said in the previous question, they definitely will help me become setting up these habits will help me be more productive. I definitely need to get back to writing every day. I used to when I was when I was going for my bachelor's, I was writing every day. I was trying to things like that, and it was fun. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying creating the world I was, things like that. I've kind of fallen off on it, but I think in general, I'm a very creative person. I do try and think of new ideas all the time and things like that. It's just more the production side of it. So with these habits, I'll be able to crank out pages. I'll be able to go back through and say, hey, you know what, this actually is really well done, or hey, you know what, I really need to go back and edit this. Carrying the little notebook around for me is like, if I ever have an idea pop in my head, it's boom, write it down, and then maybe later on come back to it, fully write it out, and see where it is that I can, develop more characters, more romance, more world building. See, hey, what if I put in this genre? How will it affect it? What if I make the lead a female? Because I work mainly in male protagonists, things like that. That will help my creativity and my production of it. So definitely will these habits will definitely help me be more productive. I believe there are a lot of advantages to workshopping. For me personally, I'm not that confident in my writing, to be honest. So I think workshopping for me will just help me gain a lot more confidence. I will say as well is that when it comes to my writing development, while I feel confident in like certain aspects of storytelling, like the action set pieces and my characters. There are other parts I think feels kind of flat, like when it's just the exposition, the details, and the sometimes the dialogue. I know that those I kind of not the best at that, so definitely the biggest advantages for me when it comes to my own development is for like I said, just to help me become a more well-rounded writer. Now with the what I've learned from my 514 class regarding young adult romance, contemporary, and speculative fiction, definitely another big part of workshopping is going to be helping me incorporate all of those into one solid mass that is hopefully going to be a story. So yeah, I think there are a lot of advantages to my writing development. I mean, a lot of advantages to workshopping for my writing development that I think is going to help me on the long run for sure. Biggest thing you can learn from workshopping other writers' works is not only learning how to be a better critic, but also learning, seeing like how other styles work and seeing how that can actually influence your own work. With the critiquing, there are good critics and there are bad critics, and there are people that know how to critique and those that really don't. And I think from other workshopping other people's works helps others realize that, hey, you know what, there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything about it. For me, what I've learned personally is that it's, hey, it's not always about the grammar or the punctuation or like the dialogue tags. It's more, how does it fit in the genre? How does it fit in the story? How do the characters fit? How does the story flow? Those are the biggest takeaways I've had that I think really are important when it comes to workshopping. So that's what I can learn from workshop myself, is to learn how to get those out. In general, though, what I feel like you can learn from other writers' works, though, is like I said, is their style. How's it that they do their maybe the set piece or their exposition, or if it's talking about like, oh, a character moving around a room. How do they do it compared to how I do it? By looking at that, I feel like I can become better, not in a way of copycatting them, but more along the lines of, hey, you know what? They're paying attention to these parts. They're explaining these bits. Maybe I'm not going about it right way. Maybe I should go back and maybe incorporate a little bit of their style and tone into mine and see how it works out. I think the biggest thing I can learn from workshop other writers' works is maybe learn to experiment a little bit and see if maybe I can lead a better writing style for myself. I believe that workshopping will definitely have a big impact on my professional writing career. For me, I want to become an author and also teach at university level, like creative writing class. So, workshopping will definitely play a part in my professional career because, again, I want to get published. So, definitely going to be a big part. Because of the fact that it's as I age, as I get more and more writing and things like that, my style is going to be changing, my tone's going to be changing, the way I approach stories may even change as well. So workshopping is going to be playing a big part in my professional career because as I get older and as I write more, I'm going to have to change. I'm going to have to see about, hey, match up my writing with what's going on, the current trends and things like that. So that constant workshopping will help me stay relevant as writing and literature move on and become more and more, complicated or maybe a little more simplistic, whatever it is. I believe workshopping will help me stay in the flow and help me stay relevant in the years to come. Ticket option that interests me the most is the online teaching certificate. The reason being is, as I previously stated, I want to teach at a university level one day, like in front of a class of over the internet, things like that. So getting that teaching experience, well, maybe only over the internet for now, is crucial for me because it plays right into my career. So. I definitely want to learn how to be able to communicate with students, be able to connect with students, and in general, I believe that with the online teacher certificate, I'll be able to learn how to, probe students' ideas and help them think beyond just a simple, sketch. Help them see the entire big picture about their idea. That's what interests me the most regarding the online teaching certificate at SNHU. I believe that the business courses will help me advance my career, learning copy, learning editing, and learning, more of the business side of everything will help give me a better understanding of how the world is when it comes to writing and how companies look at writers and things like that. I think that's the biggest advantage I can get out of it in the writing community, and the edge it gives me in the writing community is by getting that kind of experience, knowing how to write in certain styles, and then also learning how to market myself. And marketing is one of the things we'll be talking about in a future class. I believe that kind of stuff can help give me an edge because it's, knowledge is power. So when it comes to giving myself an edge in the writing community, by taking those business writing classes, I feel like I'll be more prepared for whatever is out there. Whatever job it is that needs a writer, whatever job it is that, needs um, whatever they need, a marketer, a copywriter, whatever, you know, with me taking those classes, I feel like I'll be more ready compared to some in the writing community that are maybe just trying to break into it. I feel like I'll be able to step in right away and be able to help out whatever company it is that decides to hire me on. I think the most professional options available to me as a writer, obviously there is the business side of it, but I also look at the publishing world. For me, I love reading, I love writing stories, and I love just being able to, you know, just get myself absorbed in a world. So the editing and coaching classes will definitely help me out with that. And again, it's just with the publishing world, I find it interesting and I find it fascinating because you're paid to sit there, read a book, but also be critical of it. And again, this goes back to when it comes to the workshopping, because that's pretty much what editors are at the end of the day. They're workshoppers. And what they're saying is, hey, your story fits the genre. It seems like it has good characters. Your dialogue isn't that great, but hey, you have great details. Your setting's pretty good. I like the arcs. I like the subplots, the romance. You got to work on these bits here and there. That is what interests me the most as a writer and what I think is the best available option to me because I love reading other people's work. I love seeing their points of views. When it comes to academic papers, I love reading, like what are their points of views on certain subjects and things like that. Um, and when it comes to stories, I just love seeing how writers come up with all these different ideas for their stories and things like that. So definitely editing and publishing, the editing and publishing side of professional writing would definitely be my like my go-to, my biggest interest, and be my like I said, my go-to job. If everything else fails, I'll at least try and go for that. So, I hope it does come to that, but if so, I would absolutely love to do it.